the way it's been described is like the First World War trenches, the mud, the cold, the freezing conditions. It's absolutely terrifying. And more so as well, though, when they recount these stories to the families, because you can imagine, as a mother myself, how awful that must to feel that your child is in such is in those conditions. It's just dreadful.
But first, let's spend a few minutes speaking to Wendy Warrington. She's a nurse and she's a midwife from Tottington in Greater Manchester, but she's spent more time in the past year in Poland and Ukraine than in the UK. She's been delivering medical supplies, support and training to people on the front line, but also the families caught in the middle. She's just got back from the east of Ukraine and is with us now. Morning, Wendy.
Good morning.
I know you were listening to Louise's report. What did you make of what she had to say and the experiences of these often very young men on the front line in trenches?
Yes, I listened to it this morning, and actually what she was describing is very much what's been described to me. I haven't been in the trenches. I have been offered to, but for me, it's something that I don't want to do. But I have spoken to the families, and I've spoken to actually soldiers who have been, and very much the way it's been described is like the First World War trenches, the mud, the cold, the freezing conditions. It's absolutely terrifying. And more so as well, though, when they recount these stories to the families, because you can imagine, as a mother myself, how awful that must to feel that your child is in such is in those conditions. It's just dreadful.
And there must be health implications for spending a long period of time in those really damp and incredibly cold situations.
Absolutely, what we're hearing reports of, and what we do get asked to send a lot of, definitely coughs, colds, flus. But there's also been outbreaks of trench foot as well. So you can imagine that in those cold, damp conditions, just how quickly infections obviously spread as well. Resistance is low. When you're looking as well at the diet, and immunity. So it does have a massive impact. And another thing that we actually do send if we get any vitamins, to send those to be able to supplement the diets.
Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit as well about the work you've been doing with pregnant women and new mothers in Ukraine, because I'm guessing there's not a very joined up approach to support and healthcare for them.
No, absolutely. You've hit on the point there. Joined up and lack of continuity and sustainability is a massive issue, particularly for those women that have fled from the east. So they're coming up and they're settling in the west of Ukraine. And they're referred to as internally displaced people, IDPs, and they are residing in shelters, centres for refugees, if you will. And a lot of the women have no access to any healthcare. So last week, when I was over in Ukraine, we're looking at setting up a series of primary care centres. And we went to a couple of the shelters. One, there was 400 residents there, from very young children to older people. And what we were seeing is there was a lot of pregnant women and a lot of babies that have been born there. And for us, what was really evident when I spoke to the women was that they'd had no antenatal care. I spoke to one woman who was quite visibly heavily pregnant, and she'd had no antenatal care, no scan. And I asked her, did she know when a baby was due? Absolutely no idea. And for me, this is a big issue, because we're also hearing about babies being born prematurely. I'm seeing that myself. So we've got smaller babies, the effects of the stress. And what happens is that when you're in stressful conditions, if they're fleeing, then the cortisol level rises within the body, and this does cross the placenta. It does impact on the babies. So what we're seeing is premature smaller babies and babies born that are not in the best of health. We're also seeing undernourished, malnourished children, children who are smaller than what they should be in accordance to the centile charts, which we've been using. So it is a major health problem. Only yesterday, although I'm back in the UK, what we do is that we supply these centres. So I was approached by the centre manager, Alex, from the big shelter I was just talking to you about, which is in downtown Lviv. They actually refer to this place, it is grim, as the ghetto. And I just find it quite horrific that these people are living there in those conditions. But what he was asking me for was, cough and cold medications, and also medications for children, like your paracetamol sort of suspensions and what have you. So we collected those yesterday, and we sent those. So the work continues even though we're not there.
But you are going back, aren't you? How does your family feel about you going to Ukraine?
So yes, I am planning to go back. I'm just waiting for my passport because I've been there so many times and crossed over that I had no pages left in my passport. So I've had to just apply for a new passport. As soon as that comes, I'll be arranging to go back again. My family now, I think, have become quite used to me leaving and at a drop of a hat and not knowing for how long I'll be away for. They're very supportive. My husband's very supportive. He's already planning. He can work remotely there. If I decide to go back out and stay for several months like I did last year, then he'll join me and he'll be in Poland and I'll continue doing my work.
Claire is listening to us speaking now, and she's got in touch saying, what can people here in the UK do to help?
For me, it is to make sure that it is like today, for me talking about it in the media, that it does remain in the forefront of people's minds. Look at the local areas where you're living in able to be able to support. There is so much good work and some really good charities that are collecting either aid or financial support. But just a word of warning, please check out the people that you are donating to. Unfortunately, like everywhere else, there are situations that we come across that some people aren't as honest as they could be. So that's just a word of warning. But yes, we continue to fundraise. Like, for example, I have a Just Giving page. Every penny that we receive is used to help the people of Ukraine. I self-fund when I'm there, pay for all my own living costs. So we also are filling up vehicles. In fact, we've just cleared a nursery in Bury where we live, and it's being collected on Tuesday, and it'll be on its way over to Ukraine.
It's amazing. Wendy, it's amazing the work that you're doing. And, you know, what's really nice is that you're saying you want people to hear about it. So we will stay in touch with you, Wendy, as you go out to Ukraine. And you can maybe give us regular updates on the people you're working with, who you're seeing and the support, so that it really does stay very much, as you say, in the forefront of people's minds.
Absolutely. I'd be delighted to do that.
Brilliant. Well, take care, Wendy. Best of luck with your next trip, and we'll stay in touch. That is Wendy Warrington. She's a nurse. She's a midwife from Greater Manchester. Spent a lot of time in Ukraine supporting people.